we're going to learn about and get to meet our guest today. Ray White is a member of the Salem community. He's a community development leader, leadership consultant, husband, father. I know that he's involved with, at least I've seen you at Salem Leadership Foundation, the Y, Be Black Foundation, NAACP too, some. And also he was part of working with the city with, or at least hosting some of the community violence reduction initiative listening sessions, which is another place that I ran into him. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to him is he's got a great Instagram account and that follows, he talks about his work and his leadership, but also I found us that we were in the similar circles. We ran in similar circles. And the more we talked, even, just over lunch or at a meeting or whatever, I felt like we had some similar sort of ideas or maybe ways to approach things and, but not obviously the same. And so I was thinking about our circles and having more conversation with you, recognizing that circle is not the Venn diagram is not a circle. It's sort of multicolored all over the place. And wanted to just get to talk a little bit more with you about maybe how you found yourself in these circles and where you see your work leading and how you and I and us, we can help sort of build those bridges. And I see your shirt says community is the solution. So how do we remember our identities, but also remember that identities are commingled with the people in our community. So Ray, welcome. Thanks for being on a podcast. And so how did you find yourself in these circles that you find yourself in today?
Greg, I am juiced to be here. Thank you. A couple things with your intro. One, I have never heard Wham before, so I'm hyped to know more about that. And two, I used to use the Mountaineers quite a bit in NCAA. I think 2009. Geno Smith was the quarterback at the time.
Yeah, Geno Smith, Stedman Bailey. Stedman Bailey should have won the Belindikoff Award, but he didn't go to USC.
He didn't.
Even though he had more receptions, more yards, more touchdowns than the guy that won it. But I'm not bitter about that.
You're not bitter about that.
I told you, emotional investment, too much.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's okay. I get that. But no, the triple option was great, and it worked well for me in a lot of those situations playing against the computer. But anyway, yeah, man, super hyped to be here. Ray White, as I stated. One of the things as I found myself into this space is, I don't even know. Sometimes I've realized, how did I even get here? But by way of Southern California, so you mentioned USC, I went to a lot of UCLA games growing up, so I couldn't really do the whole Trojan, chant thing or whatever. Right. But the 8 claps was definitely big for me. Mm-hmm. So a lot of UCLA football games, and then found myself in Oregon through going to Willamette.
Okay.
Was recruited playing football. At the time, I didn't know what Division III football was. I didn't know what Willamette was. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about Salem other than just the fact that Oregon had a bunch of trees, ducks, and beavers. So that was kind of the main introductory before learning about Willamette and Salem. And then once I got here, landed at the Salem airport, raining sideways, trying to figure out what am I doing.
Sure. Yeah, this is way different than LA.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. There's actual seasons and there's actual rain.
Sure.
But as I began my journey there, and there's a lot to it, but more particularly got to know the people, got engaged, saw that folks were really truly cared, and I loved the intimate setting of it. Mm-hmm. And while which is fascinating, the campus itself is in the middle of the city. Some may not see it as a microcosm of the bigger city.
Sure.
But for me, being able to see that the intimacy and the relationships that were built on campus was very similar to what I saw in the community as well.
Yeah.
And as I started to venture off campus and eventually graduating, realizing I kind of want to be here. I wanted to be at Willamette and have my ups and downs. But then once I kind of saw the opportunity to do something similar in the community, I was like, well, let's find a way to see what that will work. And 16 years later, over the course of the time, I'm still here and
sure,
continue to set my roots a little bit more further.
Sure. I have a question. This is because I love these connectional bits.
Yeah.
So you played football at Willamette Bearcats, right down the street. What position did you play?
I was a wide receiver.
Would never have guessed the tall, thin black dude was the wide receiver?
No.
Shocking.
Well, tall is strong because
Yes.
there was a person who was in front of me who was 6'5",
Oh goodness.
6'5". I believe he was from from Northern California. Was at the institution for quite some time, longer than me. So he kind of knew the system and everything.
Yeah.
And the offense that we ran was had two wide receivers. So we had one wide out and one flanker. So somebody who was always in motion, and then a tight end. So I wasn't the tallest, I wasn't the fastest, and I wasn't the biggest. So if I was to see the field in the 3 years that I played, was on special teams as a corner, which in hindsight I'm like, dang, I wish I would have played corner or safety. But then and then in 2-minute drill when they required a spread offense, which was my high school offense.
Sure.
And that's where I pretty much thrived the most in.
Yeah. Now I did say that I played baseball in college, but I like to say I was on the team.
Yeah.
Like I had 11 career at bats, so
Okay.
I practiced really hard.
Hey, you're on the stat book.
Right. I do have a conference championship ring. Here's another question. There's a guy who I know, he's a younger guy. He's probably younger than you, who played offensive line
Okay.
for the Bearcats. His name is Kyle Bond.
Okay.
But yeah, he was actually on the committee that brought me here to the church that I serve. So, and his mom works for the church, so it's wild. But I was like, that's a 2 Bearcat alum
Shout out
that I know,
Bearcats.
right?
Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, one of the things you mentioned about like Willamette is a small college, small university in the middle of this town, which is the capital of Oregon. It's 180,000 people, but part of my story is, and you lived in LA, so you may resonate with this, but like I lived in Dallas, Texas. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia, sort of metropolitan. I lived in super country, rural spots. But like Salem has this real small town vibe sometimes, but it has some big town issues, but like a small town vibe. And so it's interesting to me that you pointed out that like Willamette has this similar sort of, and Willamette is bigger than you think it is, like student wise and program wise, but the campus is not that huge. So I like that the small townness, even because I also went to a liberal arts college in a small town. My town was way smaller, but there was no connection between the town and the school.
Yeah. Which is fascinating. And as you stated that, I remember people coming into Willamette, like classmates of mine saying, I've never moved to a big city before, and thinking about Salem. I'm like, what you mean big city?
Right.
Like, this ain't nothing. But I think it's a small town vibe, big town issues, big city issues. I think the capital plays a huge role in that.
Okay.
Right? Like if the capital wasn't here, I can see the small town feel. Like I currently reside in Kaiser.
Sure.
And that's small town for me.
Sure.
So I can see that, but I imagine if the capital wasn't there, it can continue to keep that small town feel. But because of that connection, that you see that dynamic happening a lot more and more and surfacing in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's about like just the circles that I run in, or the people that I see like the same people all around, right? Like I know that person does that, and it's also a function of who I am as a person, like being involved with the community. And I know that you've been super involved not only in your professional life, but in your personal life and your volunteer time, like philanthropy around being part of the community. And like that's one of my highest values is inclusion.
Yeah.
And that's not just like, doesn't just always have to be about gender or identity or those kinds of stuff. But it's about like, how do we include everybody in these conversations about things that matter to all of us, right? Like our parks, our schools, the air, the climate, like relationships with the police, like all those kinds of things. Like, so that community mindedness. How did you get to be this community minded? Like LA can be, I know I've been to LA. I have friends that are from there, but I recognize that sometimes there's some like pockets that are really like small townish. And there's other times there's just like the sprawl, and it's like it's easy to get lost as a human.
Yeah.
Not like, I don't know where I'm going, but like,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like spiritually, emotionally, professionally.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff. So how have you found, what led you to be more community minded?
Yeah. I want to say, family is a big piece of that. So growing up, there was a lot of what we instituted quite a bit in the household, being servant-minded, serving leadership, being involved in the church, being involved in what's going on around you. And I will say, and not for the people who, it's like one of those things where you say you're from LA, but you're not really from LA.
Sure.
So, but because it's so large, it gets
Yeah.
expanded across multiple things. So my family grew up in city of Cerritos, which is near Long Beach, which is part of the greater context of LA.
Right.
And then I did a lot of my upbringing in the city of Corona near Riverside. So a good landmark, UC Riverside for folks in that area, that in Riverside County. But there were a lot of opportunities in that spaces where we were involved in our church with family who were in leadership in that space and really instituted the opportunity of seeing a need and you fill that need. And so since we all had different gifts, we all have various gifts, how can we leverage that gifts to serve the greater good around us? And knowing that somebody else is also doing something similar for me, standing on the shoulders of giants of people who have gone before me or before us to help create these spaces. And we all have a role to help elevate that and continue it forward. Just a lot of those types of conversations in the family and church settings. And then as I continue to grow in consciousness and learning what that actually truly means, we were able to see through various leaders throughout history what that looks like for them. And how do they create spaces where people do feel like they belong? How do they create opportunities through their either voice or their hands or their legislative power or what have you to create these opportunities for people who maybe legally haven't received it or haven't experienced that in just a connectual cultural perspective. And being able to step into that can be daunting, can be hard.
Right.
But what I've learned throughout that process is that there's always a moment and there's always an opportunity to help create that for the people that you are building relationships with, because that's a lot of what is underlying in this is like, how do we create relationships? How do we create connection with one another? And that feels good, right? It feels good to be connected to something. And then honestly, like we talked sports quite a bit. Sports has been a big space for that too. Like you're a part of a team. One of my head coach at Willamette at the time, Mark Speckman, would always say, you're playing more for the name in the front than a name on the back. And if we are able to understand that we all have Willamette across our chest or whatever team name that you're a part of, that vision, connection, and drive will help you to work towards something that's greater than yourself. And hopefully achieve something really great out of that accomplishment.
Yeah, I think that's great. I really like that perspective, thinking about like my part, my gifts, my skills, my abilities, my influence are important, but it's not about me.
Right.
Like it's that longer, bigger team. I mean, I've been on a team since I was 5, and then I was a coach. I actually went to graduate school to become a college baseball coach. Did not realize that I would have to volunteer for 2 years.
For real though. Yeah.
I was like, never mind. But yeah, so that like, I really like only know how to operate on a team.
Right.
And like I said, I practiced really hard. So I wasn't always a part of the on the field part of the solution, but I was there. I used to cracks me up because I was just remembering that I had a handshake with every member of the team.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's like 25 players, and we had starters that were mostly starters, right? And so I would in our home games, I would stand outside the dugout, and they would announce them and come out, and we would do the handshake. So I'm like, those teachers that did that went viral on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing that for a minute.
You're already there.
Right?
Yeah.
So that I like that thinking about team. Like we're in a team in if in our context, like Salem is the name on the chest. Right. And so how do we, it's harder with 180,000 people.
Yes.
Right. Than it is with 25 on a baseball squad or
correct
180 whatever on a football team. But I think that's an interesting mindset to keep in mind. I wonder also, you said you're going to sort of like standing on the shoulders of giants, and and those that went forward. Who would be some of those people for you that like
Oh,
come to mind when you think about sort of like, like I don't want to be like them, but
yeah, you want
like
to emulate and
yeah, sort
model
of
what
like
they've done.
in the lineage of.
Yeah. So, from a personal context, my grandmother's always huge in that way. Talk about a prayer warrior, somebody who really brought me up in the church, as somebody who, um, one of the models when it comes to what does it look like to have faith, what does it look like to serve well. She's a shoulder, that I constantly call or what to call every once in a while
Sure.
to just check in on. I have mentors as well who've been really similar in that way. My mom has also been really big in instilling those types of things into me, saying,
Mhm.
you know, it's always good to hear from perspectives of other people and build relationships with other people because you'll see something different.
Mhm.
There might be some common connection in your either identity or your place in space and context, but you can still learn from anybody, anywhere. And so I remember having quite a few mentors growing up. Dr. Russell Wells, who who was an educator. I think since now retired, but just my sister was playing softball, I had like 5-year-old softball or whatever, and I was
Sure.
on the basketball court just shooting hoops by myself, and he kind of came over and said, hey, can I teach you some things? And I was like, what, 8 at the time,
Right.
and he's 35 now, and he just recently texted me saying happy birthday, so like
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like still building relationships and connections, but in creating spaces in the education system for those who may be disenfranchised or don't have access to quality education. He was an administrator in that space. I learned quite a bit about
Hmm.
learning policy, learning systems, and how to operate that. Um, another close name, Jeremy Williams, is another one. When I came to Salem, actually post graduation, knowing that, all right, I had these contacts and relationships at home. I've had strong mentors back at home, but don't really have that locally here.
Hmm.
And if I want to build here, I know I need that. And it didn't come till post graduation where that actually came.
Sure.
Where he was walking around the college campus and saying, hey, like he actually was coming to meet some friends of mine, and I just happened to be with them.
Hmm.
And then I've been rocking with them since for the past,
Yeah.
10, 12 years. So those are those individuals. And then you look historically, Martin Luther King's a big one.
Hmm.
There are some other folks across who are still present. Dr. Eric Thomas is a pretty big name, ET the hip hop preacher. He's the one
Hmm.
that's been really great in kind of showing that having a strong voice in the community. And what I try to do, and a lot of what my mindset has been is I try to go to my first, I guess I don't want to say my first identity, but I cling to being a Black man first
Yep.
and foremost. Like that's
Sure.
one identity that I carry among many, and knowing that finding Black men who model similar values of service and community and leadership, finding those individuals in every space and context first to
Sure.
see what does it look like for me to also be in that shoes, right?
Yeah.
So my bookshelf is kind of full of a lot of authors in that way.
Yeah. That's great. I love the idea of like, one of the things because of the way our education system works, like I've
Hmm.
read a lot about white dudes that, were in leadership or whatever.
Hmm.
Right. And they were the ones that were given the opportunity. So like right now I'm focusing more on, either people of color or, just different gender, different like identity folks, and learning from the like, wait, I agree with this. And sort of what reminded me of this was, as you were talking, you and I had this, we both did this thing,
Hmm.
but we did it at different times. It was the Alabama Learning Lab,
Yes.
with Empower Initiative. Shout out Ben McBride and Janelle McBride.
Shout out.
They and it was through Church of the Park and Salem Leadership Foundation. So the program is you go down to Alabama, you stay in Birmingham, right? Or was it
Hmm.
stay in Birmingham, and then you do all the civil rights sort of things. And so you go to the EGI Museum, Equal Justice Initiative, and you go to Selma and you walk across Edmund Pettus Bridge. And one of the things that the way that they explain it is it's a case study in racial othering.
Yeah.
So it helps you to understand. It's not just about how terrible we are to one another. It's a It's really like, here's how othering happens and how this plays out. And in that experience, I remember at the museum, at the end of the museum, you walk into this golden room kind of thing with this huge couch, and it's got all of these civil rights leaders from decades just around. And some of them were like growing up in Atlanta. There were some that were still doing that work like legit, and they're still doing it now, but they were in it then. And I had not either connected or realized or whatever. I was like, wait, I know that dude. Like I shook that guy's hand one time. I mean, whatever, like not like we were friends or anything, but or I heard that guy speak, or that woman, was on the news and that kind of stuff. And I remember just sitting there and like weeping because I felt like, well, like I resonate very much with the words of Dr. King, and not just his ones that we all repeat, but like the letter from the Birmingham jail is one of the like most convicting pieces of literature that I've ever read about white moderates and timing and, just sort of like, and so I want to be active in my work of reconciliation and recognizing that you don't just go from where we are to reconciliation. There's a long,
it's a whole journey.
Right. But I was like, in my head, I was thinking, I'm doing the same work as Martin Luther King Jr. Like that's, and because I'm a middle-class, overeducated white dude, I'm like, that doesn't feel right to say.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. Cause I feel like I'm trying to once again co-opt this work by a person who has a different identity than me. Right.
Yeah.
Which is, we got loads of examples. Right. But I remember I talked to my spiritual director about it because I was like messed up about it. Cause I just weeping, like my wife was with me and I was trying to talk. I couldn't even say anything. And he gave me this book that was called Brothers of the Beloved Community.
Okay.
And it's about Thich Nhat Hanh and Martin Luther King Jr. And Martin Luther King Jr. taught Thich Nhat Hanh about beloved community. And Martin Luther King Jr. understood it from Howard Thurman, who understood it. Like it goes back, right?
Yes.
Like, and so the language that they use, and I used this language a little bit earlier, sort of snuck in it, is the lineage of the beloved community. And so like wanting to be in the lineage of these giants like MLK and Thich Nhat Hanh and others, and say like, yes, a beloved community that's being built here in the church, in my community, in my neighborhood, whatever, might look a little different or be formed differently than the monks in Vietnam from Thich Nhat Hanh, but there's still this belovedness, this community mindedness. So I love the idea of that. You're thinking about what I heard you say was, these black men in these different spaces. I want to hear about where they're coming from, how do I, and maybe how I can see myself in those spaces. Yeah. And so I was thinking about that lineage. And so I like MLK is one of my, like I have some of his stuff tattooed on my arm. This unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the say in the end. That's why right temporary defeated is better than evil triumphant, right? Like, so but also, right? Like I have like these balance of like, there are communities that I belong to and communities I don't belong to.
Yes.
And honoring that. Yeah. Say like, no, I don't belong in this space. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that space shouldn't exist. Right. Cool. Like that's not my space. It's your space or somebody else's space. So thinking about this lineage of your grandmother, of your mentors and those closest to you, but also those others that have touched like sort of many of us in that way. What do you see as your role like today in Salem, as a mom, as a dad, as a husband, as a all that, like
all the things.
Yeah. Like what is your like, where are you standing so that others can stand on your shoulders, I guess?
Yeah, no, good question. One motto, or I've been working on what's my mission statement, what's my vision statement, all those kind of things personally. Organizations do it all the time. We also have one individually, right, to help drive what we do. A few years ago was create inclusive communities where every identity belongs and thrives. Has been one that's kind of landed on for how do I integrate that in everything that I do. I appreciate what you stated because I think similarly to that, we can learn from anybody and everybody. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do exactly what they did.
Sure.
Right. Because we, in the feet that where we're currently standing, like you said, look different. I don't think there's a need for me to march on Washington right now.
Sure.
Right. Like that's
Right.
not, I'm not in Washington. I'm here in Salem. But
Right.
what does the relationship look like here contextually to figure, okay, what was the principle of those movements? What's the principle of that mission or that message? And how does that relate and contextualize to what I'm currently doing today? So as stated, the fact I've been blessed with my ministry of family, right? Wife, 3 boys, they're all young, on the younger end of the spectrum of our children journey. How do I show up, be very present in their lives, to help teach these models and lessons to them, to their friends groups and whatnot? How do I become a model for the teams that I'm coaching on? And I knew I wanted to be a coach, youth sports coach. Similarly, I am doing the volunteering thing, but not as a profession. But like I wanted to be engaged with any type of teaching and coaching in that way. And if not me, then who kind of mentality plays a role too. So how am I showing up and teaching soccer if I don't know soccer? But that's not the point. It's not the actual sport. It is the life lessons. It's how to be a good teammate. It's how to be a good person. How do you pick up somebody when they're feeling down? How do you overcome adversity? Teaching those lessons through the field in basketball and soccer and baseball and track, all those stuff. Understanding those principles, because those are similar principles that you would see in a lot of the heroes that we see today. Like, how do you overcome adversity? How do you have conversations with people who are on different sides of you? How do you still keep that momentum and energy going to be competitive in some sense within the sporting space, but then also have that drive to see the outcomes that you may or may not see for the greater good of those around you, for the team on your chest, right?
Sure.
I would say that has played a role in pushing the lineage forward to where I can find a way to teach that to other people. Or teach that for myself, first and foremost, that I understand it, understand the principles, and then teach it to other folks as well. And then create the spaces where it's like, okay, what's the common ground that we stand on that allows us to be here to then say, if there are nuances and differences in how we approach a topic or a solution or an issue or solution, that doesn't negate the need to, that doesn't mean that I need to like ignore you or see that your problem is wrong, right? The Gold Room especially, and back to the Alabama trip, because yes, I just recently went. I think you went a couple years ago.
Yep.
So as it's
like
fresh
actually
in my
like
mind.
this week, I was there for my anniversary, which is on Saturday.
Well, happy anniversary!
Wow, thanks.
That's dope.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you. That Gold Room was really impactful for me as well, because I think in that journey for that particular museum, it was immediately hard hitting. Talking about just from enslavement all the way to, I mean, it's not resolved. It's still not resolved.
Right. 100%.
But they did a phenomenal job of you're walking through the journey of those who were enslaved from Africa, the transatlantic slave journey, all the way up to the point where you are looking at these heroes who had very different skill sets, very different aspirations, how they showed up in the timeline, but still had the same similar meaning and cause of creating access, opportunity, and freedom for those who came before them, right? And so what I appreciate is that, and one thing that stuck out to me is that, Martin Luther King wasn't just talking about the racial injustice, but he was also talking about economic development. He was also talking about, just equal access for voting and things of that nature. And that was really highlighted in that journey, that it just so happened that because those things were happening to people who were racially othered.
Right.
What I appreciated, Ben and Janelle and Empower Initiative talked quite a bit about, is that how do we see that same perspective for other identities who are experiencing othering in our community? So how do we talk about our LGBTQIA siblings in that context, and those who are in immigration status, and those who are othered and by their identity, by their gender identity or sexual orientation, and not say that it has to be an oppression Olympics context.
Sure.
But it's the oppression is happening,
Right.
and the way that they see oppression live out is going to be different than how I may see it, but the principles are still there to say, how do we work together, or how do I understand your context from an empathy perspective to help advocate, to help speak out, to help go up against what you're experiencing, and hope that it creates a more contextualizes the experience for me and what I'm fighting for or striving towards or experiencing. And then very similar to my children who are multi-ethnic or multiracial, they may be experiencing something different too, but they can at least say, all right, hey, even though your solution or your outcome might be, or what you're experiencing is going to be different than how I experienced, this is how you can approach it.
Sure.
So what will happen if we have more of those types of conversations on a regular basis?
Yeah, I love what you said about helping people thrive.
Yeah.
Right. So in that thriving, I was just like talking to somebody the other day, and what their goals for themselves and what my goals for them were different. Right. And their goals were fine. Like they weren't bad, or it was just like, oh, interesting. Like,
yeah,
because obviously what I see as thriving is different than what someone else might see as thriving. So like, now I think there's some, your basic needs are met. You're
yes.
Like
the
your
Maslow
health,
needs,
right? Like spiritual, physical, emotional, mental health, all those things. Like, I think those are less gray areas. But like what thriving looks like is different for everybody. Right. And being able to, one of the things I was thinking about, that gold room, if I remember right, there's some open spots.
Yes.
Like they're not empty frames, but there's just not complete.
Yeah.
Which I think I hadn't even thought about that until just now. And I was like, back in that moment, I was like, oh wow, like the work is still continuing, right?
Yeah.
And that work is different for each individual person. But I think like as we, the old like rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
If we actually had a rising tide, that might be helpful, but not like climate change.
No.
That's a different conversation.
Different kind of tide.
But yeah. So I think about like thriving and I feel like sometimes, like we've talked about, like there's different circles, like similar circles and different circles, but sometimes we're standing in multiple circles, and those circles seem to be trying to go in the same direction, but are also battling one another and holding the other one back. It's like I read somewhere about like crabs, I think or monkeys. Like if one monkey climbs up and gets a banana, and then everybody gets a shock, then they'll try to
pull the monkey down.
Right. Everybody try to keep everybody down because you don't want to, I don't know, like mess up the system. Like the system that you talked about, I love systems, and like and so I was thinking like, yeah, because of this, you can see this. And so long-windedly asking you, how have you seen, or how do you think, is it possible for us to recognize that individual thriving, or even for individual groups, is not necessarily competitive or at the expense of another group?
Yeah. That is hard in the system, again, back to systems. That's hard in the systems that we are currently operating in, because it is a little dog eat dog. It is a little bit competitive. You have to kind of like, even though the term standing on the shoulders could also be determined as like, okay, well, I'm gonna step on you to get what I want, right? And leverage who you are, your platform, your experiences, your skill sets to get the gain for me, right? As we live in a kind of a selfish type of a culture, and as human beings too, in our nature. It is a reconditioning and reprogramming of our own mindset, right? I find that, again, it's still an ongoing journey of dying to self, of dying to like, okay, this what are my needs, or what are the things that I want to aspire towards, and how do I do that in a way that doesn't compete or go up against or put other people down in that context? That is a constant discussion and conversation for me.
Sure.
And I know, and I've known it wasn't just like I woke up one day, it was like, oh, like now I have this newfound enlightenment, right? I was like, oh no, it's conversation with other people, is watching other folks and how they operated, is admiring and aspiring to the movements and to the people who are seeking thriving collectively, but recognizing that certain seasons that might mean elevating your version of thriving than mine.
Sure.
And that's not a, I forgot what movie is from a show, but like everybody eats, right? Like everybody,
Right.
there's abundance out here.
Yeah.
But in the scarcity mindset culture, in the scarcity system that we've created, it's made it seem as if we can't work together to appreciate and can get to that collective thriving. So for me, it is that awareness that if I see success or achieve success, that's not at the expense of others.
Sure.
Is also being humbled in myself and appreciating other people's success and not seeing as a threat to my own.
Yeah.
Just because you might be a success on the field doesn't mean that, or getting a touchdown, all that kind of stuff, that doesn't mean that makes me less than, right?
Sure.
Or you need to be put on a pedestal too. So
Right, yeah.
those are the elements that it takes that level of conversation and hopefully trusted people to have that discussion. But then if we create that space where we can be vulnerable, we can not feel or work to maybe put that bias out there a little bit that, hey, I'm feeling a little bit, I'm feeling the competition or I'm feeling threatened. Maybe that's the term I'm looking for. Feeling a little threatened by the situation, but I know that's not you. It's just maybe what was constructed.
Right.
If to move past that, I got to be able to talk through that.
Sure.
And that has helped to realize like, oh, you're human and you're human like me too.
Sure.
And it's okay to have that discussion, to put that on the table, to say, I'm threatened by this, or I see the success. The way that I'm feeling is not directed towards you. And that can help in me seeing past that to say, okay, well, what can we do together? And what can we collaborate together on? Or where do I need to step up or step back in order for the greater good to occur? And so I'm appreciative in a lot of spaces that I'm a part of. And I think in the Salem context, there are a lot of nonprofits in the same context who are doing similar work, but just in different pockets.
Sure.
And that's great. Like, because not one organization, one body is going to reach the whole body or reach everything.
Sure.
So what does it look like to say, if we're working on youth development, if we're working on racial equity, if we're working on health equity, you might have a greater connection and relationship to certain communities than I do.
Sure.
But we are working together to share that same message, and we can reach a greater impact in that way.
Sure. Yeah, I love that. I like that. The one thing I found that I get frustrated by is that sometimes I feel like we say like, "Oh no, I can only do this though." Right? Well, you do you thing, and I'm gonna do my thing, but we're gonna do them like separately. We're
like
not.
There's a veil.
There's never gonna be like Ben tells a story about these two dudes, who one black dude and one white felon guy in Florida, who were talking about voting rights and trying to get voting back for all these people who had been formerly incarcerated folks. Yeah. And they went out. And so like, there were some times where there were some communities where the black dude took the forefront, and the other times where the white dude took, but they were there together the whole time.
Yes.
Right. Like it wasn't, I was thinking that the like all lives matter garbage. Like it used to make me crazy. So like Black Lives Matter. And I remember even when that first started, me being like, like not really like, I don't know if I just didn't understand it or it just didn't sit right with me. And I had some conversations with some friends of mine and I was like, oh yeah, like this makes total sense. Yeah. Cause it's like someone said, you needed to have like Black Lives Matter too. Like and I think
add the additive. Yeah.
Right. But I don't even think you need that but what you were saying about this scarcity model. So if you say Black Lives Matter, there's somehow a negative in that other lives don't also matter. Correct. Which isn't at all what the three women that put that together, correct, right, and how that built up. Like, there's not at all what that's about. Right. And like, this is in my head, and so just bear with me. This may be connected. Let's go. But like, so in that same vein, I think sometimes in the cultures that I grew up in, we feel some kind of way about what we call bragging. Yeah. Right. Or like tooting your own horn or right. Like, or, being cocky and we're like, I mean, even in church, sometimes you'll be like, man, we're super pumped because we get an opportunity to host all these houseless folks and we get to keep them warm for one night. Yeah. right? And we're excited about the fact that we have a place and staff and resources that we can do that. And it's not because we think yes, we think we're doing a good work, but it's not that you're not.
Right.
Right. Or we like lift up a volunteer, like an individual or a couple individuals, because they were the ones who were coordinating the thing. And it doesn't mean that this other work that's happening is not also important. Right. But it's like, if you don't name everybody, then you must mean that you must hate them. Yeah. Right. Or something. And so I was thinking about that in this scarcity model you talked about. I love talking about scarcity and abundance. Yeah. Because, there's it's like, there's enough food in the world. There's just greed. That's why everybody's not, that's why there's hungry people. Yeah. Is a distribution and greed, not resources. Yeah. And so how do we I see this all the time. I was about to run for school board in my old town in Minnesota, and so one of my daughter's good, closest friends, her mom was a political activist in town, and we were often on opposite sides. And some of the stuff she said, I was just like, and especially in regards to how different identities are treated in different spaces. Right. Yeah. And she was absolutely not about that. She was like, it's all, we're living at MLK's, colors, character, whatever. Yeah. And I remember Sir Kid, very intelligent, very all the resources, great kid, wonderful kid. She's a wonderful person too. But I remember there was a conversation about needs and Title I. The school was a Title I school, and some students getting something that her student didn't get. Yeah. Now, it wasn't that her student needed it. Yeah. It just wasn't offered to them. And she was like, that's not fair. And I was like, but she doesn't need it. Yeah. And these people, right. But I think, and that's just a one in, yes, yeah. And I'm not trying to bash her or anything, but she's not the only one well, if you get that, why don't I get that? Yeah. Yeah. And we don't think about, well, do I need that? Right. I think there's the want and need bit. We get lost in what that means. Yeah. I need, to get that whatever, thing from the TikTok shop. Yeah. Do you?
Well, sometimes you might.
Right. You might. I'm not saying it's not a, it's
so
not
many things I need from
black
that
and
TikTok
white,
shop.
right? But yeah.
No, I hear you.
But so how do we I love that idea about abundance and scarcity. Yeah. And then just because you got doesn't mean I don't have. Right. 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 Or it's a meme about human rights. It's if someone gets more human rights, it doesn't mean you get less. It's not pie. Yeah. I don't, and this is where I for sure get caught up and have been caught up late at night in my own house. It's what does it look like to change the world? Sure. That's essentially what, that's one of the questions. That's how do we change the mindset, the collective consciousness of our human identity to see things, to see the systems, to see what's happening or what has happened as an opportunity for us to make change and do better. Mm-hmm. And I know, especially in college and even early before having children, getting overwhelmed in that question gets me more bitter, hung up on what can and cannot be done, and then even seeing myself as insignificant. And I wonder if that mentality sometimes can play a role in people perpetuating the level of problems, or not problems, but that mindset that it can't be accomplished, it can't get done, I can't change minds, I can't do that kind of stuff, which maybe that is true. There are certain pockets in people, there are certain demographics, there are certain events that I cannot control. I think Stephen Covey talks quite a bit about this, about what you can and cannot control, and that how beneficial it is to kind of focus in on what is within my sphere of influence that I can impact. Sure. How can I, if I am unable to make that adjustment to a fellow coworker or my neighbor or what have you, how am I constantly renewing my mind to help understand that? And what maybe through my actions, and this is kind of where I've landed, what actions can I take place that will open the invitation for them to see, oh, there's something different here. Sure. Or
if I experience that level of, because I have it too, it's not to say that like even throughout this journey of knowledge and action that I don't see other movements and activities and think, well, what about me? Like I want that, you know? Because I do that all the time. But then like understanding, and this is again that
I'm jealous of your minivan. Like I want your minivan.
yeah, man, that minivan is nice.
I will rock those things.
I stepped in as like a spaceship,
right?
Sorry, no, it's funny. Because yeah, I never thought minivan. We got 3 kids. You got to tote these kids and toys around
for real.
But like what I've the Peter Senge, the book, the fifth element or the 5 elements or something of that nature. They talk about mental models.
Sure.
And how we all are operating on some level of perspective that shapes the way that we think, act, and see, right? You talk about lenses and how we see the world. Mm-hmm. There's a mental model that plays a role into that. So if we continue to play on this loop that if they have something and I don't have it, then that's wrong and I need it too.
Sure.
That's going to create this envy. That's going to create this, this greed and this kind of context. But if I just work to create a pattern interrupter to say, okay, how do I suspend that thought and see it and try to see it from different perspectives? Will that change the way that I see it too? Mm-hmm. That mindset or that mental model, right? Is very meta, helps in shaping the way that I engage other people. And then again, contextualize and say, what can I control then in that moment allows the opportunity to say, I can engage in this discussion differently, or I can see that movement differently, or I can see somebody else's abundance or lack of abundance differently because I'm working to find other angles or understand it from different vantage points.
Yeah, I like that. I was thinking what you said. My spiritual director often says you can control the 5 feet around you. And yourself, or you can control yourself and the 5 feet around you. And sometimes it's not 5 feet, and sometimes it's not yourself, right? Like, and so, but like I've been thinking a lot about support and control, and where sometimes those can be in tension. And I think this idea of control, we have this illusion of control. Mm-hmm. Like I remember my daughter has just got her learner's permit, so she's going to start driving school, and and we'll see about that. She backed the car out of the driveway once, so that's as far as we've gotten so far.
Okay, hey, progress.
Right,
yeah, baby steps.
It's not nothing, right? I remember my driving instructor, like whatever driver safety course that I had to take when I was 15. Was like, you're not actually in control of this car. Like you think you are, but if the gas pedal breaks or right, like there's so many other, like you have some control, but you're not in total control, right? Because there are other factors that play, right? And but that pops into my head every now and then because I'm like, yeah, okay, I can, like someone comes at me out of pocket, I'm like, I can go back to my like athlete, like toxic dude stuff, or I can like, all right, like there's any shade of gray between those 100%. Either's or, right?
Yeah.
But being able to say like, nope, like I gotta keep myself, I can only control myself.
Yeah.
So they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and then I have to be able to respond to that or not.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think I love that idea about, as we think about control, and I think about how our world is so bonkers, it seems, right? And like, just if you read the news and it's like, it's not going to be changeable, right? Like I can't do anything about climate change, right?
Yeah.
Or I can't do anything about the federal government, or I can't do anything about poverty or houselessness in Salem, right? Which none of that is true.
Right.
But also you can't do it by yourself.
Right.
And you can't do it all.
Yes.
Right. So I was thinking about something that Ben said. Ben McBride talks about cathedral projects. Mm-hmm. So when I was down in Alabama, he was telling a story about one of the elders, and the elders said something like, we weren't trying to save the world. We were just trying to do the next right thing. Right. So it wasn't like we had this desire. We have a desire for a better freer world, right? But that wasn't what our goal was. Our goal was like, I'm just trying to get through today.
Yes.
Right. I'm trying to make this next right step, which I think is a line from Frozen 2.
Yeah.
That's right. But I was thinking about that, and these ideas, cathedral projects, is these 250-year projects. Like so the architect is never seeing that built.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
A stonemason. So I'm a stonemason in the at the cathedral, and I might finish this wall in my lifetime, but my kids and my grandkids aren't walking into this building whole, right?
Right.
I was talking to somebody about this, and they're like, yeah, but you could die.
Yeah.
And I was like, yep, but the wall will be more built than it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. And I was heard someone say one time to their partner that you are indispensable, but you are not irreplaceable. Because I think they were acting up. But I think about right that.
I love the context of why that. I mean,
right?
That's such a great message, and because of the way it's acting.
Right. Like you weren't like, I think there was like you haven't been around, like you've been working too much, or like there wasn't a, I don't know the whole thing, but that I just remember that line.
That's a good line. Yeah.
But it was like this idea that like Ray White is indispensable, not only for his family and his children and his grandmother and his in Salem and that, but also Ray White Greg Bolt is a finite being,
right?
With finite resources, finite energy, finite, and that doesn't mean there's not work to do,
right?
But also it doesn't mean that I'm responsible to finish the work, right? So like I think also we're such a like, what have you done for me lately place, and such a like, I don't know, like it's get rich quick, or like everything happens like this, that we don't have a good vision of the place is better when I left it than when I got here.
Yes.
Right. And place identified as
anything,
your home, your body, your relationship, whatever, like your community, whatever. I think that's like I feel like what you're saying sort of leads me to that idea, is that like,
which that's my mom would say that too. She was another phrase she always say is like, leave a place better than you found it.
Sure.
So I appreciate you bringing that up, because that has been a really great moniker in a lot of how I approach anything. Right. And again, back to you stand on shoulders of giants, like they did a similar mindset, similar perspective that, you're building something that you may never see, but how are you taking care of the next generation so they may not have to go through the similar, journey, struggles, or issues that you have, right? So as I think about my children, I think it just really accelerated once we had kids, and it was always there, but it wasn't tangible until the firstborn.
Sure.
And it's like, oh crap, like I'm taking care of you, but then as you stated, it's not just me, it's my wife, is my in-laws, is my family, is a friend's family. Like, what's the village that's going to help protect and create and build up this child, similar to how I was created and developed and involved in the community. But then it's hard because in the speed of technology, or the speed of what we see on social media, and the kind of really driving into saying, yes, if you say it out of your mouth, you need to be built by tomorrow, and successful by tomorrow, because you're seeing that constantly in the highlight reels online. I'm
not going to bring up tariffs right now.
No, I'm not doing that. But if we were to say, okay, again, back to like, just because somebody else's success is not a detriment to my own,
right?
You could see that as fuel for excitement to say, okay, if they could do it, I could do it too. It's kind of my mindset has been, but I'm also knowing that, just as the growth of a child, some of these things are going to take time. And so if I'm looking at as a father, as you look at the children that we're developing in our household, I have to, one, model what it is that I'm saying. I have to repeat what I'm saying on a regular basis, good and, correction.
Sure.
But then recognize that over the course of time, the fruit will bear.
Sure.
And I've been working to have that same perspective in the community when we see, for the example, the collective, for one of the areas that you mentioned, Be Black Foundation, I'm board president there, and a lot of what is stemming up in that space is helping develop and create next generational Black leaders.
Sure.
That concept is not new.
Right.
You see that concept in any other form that's out there.
Sure.
Where Be Black is playing a role in is having access and connections to funding streams and resources to help infuse or develop what's already pre-existing.
Right.
And it helps elevate or be another supplement to where maybe certain organizations cannot have that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, that concept is not new. I am in a place and space to provide or help be one of the people to help provide that today, knowing that we may not see the fruit and the timing of our either tenure as a board member,
sure,
or even just lifetime in our finite mentality, finite humanness, where we could see it for my children.
Right.
So if we were able to say, if I was able to, and I'm learning this, not be so selfish in how I approach the work, to say, I want the fruit now.
Right.
If I'm able to work on that today, that will help. Maybe that, that eases some tension in a lot of ways. I'm being okay with death and all that kind of stuff. But just knowing that, back to the servant mindset, what I'm creating is for my kids, or what I'm creating is for my friends' kids.
Sure.
And it will help propel and increase that lineage that we are all a part of too.
Yeah. A couple things that came to mind when you were talking, I was thinking about that last bit. But I want my flowers,
man.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've been working, right? I want someone to see my work and be like, good job, Greg.
Yeah.
You did good.
Yeah.
Right. Well done. Good and faithful servant. 100%. Right. Like,
yeah.
Because like, I don't know, you see like somebody else getting flowers and you're like, no, but I'm doing this. I'm doing A, more work, and B, better.
Again, what about me?
Yeah. Right. Like, so I totally get that. But I was thinking, another thing you were thinking about, your kids are a little bit younger than mine, not a ton, but the thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about repeating yourself was when they start saying stuff that you say.
Oh my goodness.
But it's not the good stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yup.
Like, the other day I was in the car and the light turned green and nobody moved. And I go, man, what's going on? Like, I mean, I did that. And then, I don't know, like flashed forward a little bit later, same deal. Kids in the car this time. Nobody moves. Same deal. He goes, what's going on? And I was like, dang.
Where'd you get that from?
Come on.
Oh, that's me.
Right?
Yep.
Dang. Right? So, but I think that's good that reflection of like, oh, got to work on that one.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because we still also are in need of correction, or guidance or whatever. I was thinking of those things. And I was, I really like the idea of, helping others. Like, you have these access to these resources that can support, like the Be Black Foundation is like coming alongside and doing stuff that other people are already doing, but kind of help that.
Right.
There's this old joke about churches that will, like, the Episcopalians will have a food bank, and then the Presbyterians will be like, well, they're doing great work, we should have a food bank.
Yeah.
Instead of,
how do we support you in this?
How do we support the food bank? Right. Like, and so I really I love that model. And I've been a part of a lot of organizations or a lot of places where they'll be like, well, this needs to be done. They see a gap and they have this desire to fill that gap or to help with that gap, but they don't know, there's no research done.
Yeah.
Because they're new to the scene or they're whatever. Yes. And they don't know that Be Black or
other entities are doing it.
Have been and maybe have some input, but might need a little help.
Yeah.
Or a different angle or whatever. So I love that idea of Ecclesiastes says there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
Right. And one other thing I was thinking about when you were talking, and I want to let you have the last word, and then I have a question for you.
Okay.
But I was thinking about when I was in Minnesota, we lived in a town that was, we were 7 miles from the Prairie Island Indian community. So you had a ton of indigenous folks around, and I learned a lot about the indigenous communities, the Metawankaton, Dakota, in Red Wing, where we were. And one of the things I learned about was they don't think, often it's not a linear, like our relationship is not linear.
Right.
It's circular.
Right.
So they won't say north, south, east, west. They'll say north, east, south, west.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a circle. So like the work that I'm doing, the work that I'm putting in the relationship, whatever, like good, whatever that might be, I might be giving to you or whatever, but I'm not going to get it back from you.
Yeah.
But I will receive it, or it will be received in the world differently somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not this, and I think we're so transactional
Yes, we are.
in our thinking, and that like I put the seed in the ground and now I have not recognizing that there's soil and there's wind and there's rain and there's like farmers know this better than most people, but like,
Right.
like here I put my $1 in the vending machine and I get a soda.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be $1. Now it's like $1.50, but
Yeah, no, that's
whatever.
why
But yeah, so whatever that is. But yeah, so I love this idea of I love that you came down and sort of chatted with me.
Yeah.
As we're trying to get this going. And I hope that we continue to have like find ourselves in the middle of things, right?
Yes.
Like good, bad, and different. Like just being together in those middle spaces. Because I think the middle's wider than we want it to be, or we think it is, and because we all have like locked into our little communities, which is good.
Yeah.
To have those places to return to.
Yes.
To support, and also that's not a back and forth. It's the tides kind of thing, like a ebb and flow. So, what's your last thoughts? And I got one, and I have another question after.
Last thoughts. That's hard. So, one thing you stated, and I think this helps like connect that reciprocal relationship that we are trying to be embody and show the transformational instead of the transactional relationship that we have. I remember in college, so doing a lot of learning about social justice movements, how I sociology major, American ethnic studies minor, so just learning truly how people work in society. And very similarly, right? I'm this bright-eyed college student going through this course, and I'm like, what are we doing about the justice system, right?
Right.
What are we doing about that? Like, okay, calm down, 21-year-old Ray.
Right.
But I remember we went to this conference. It was like this justice conference happening in Portland. So they were trying to really find the line between Jesus and justice, and brought a whole bunch of speakers in, got really fired up. And part of the responsibility of going to that conference was coming back and sharing your knowledge. And a lot of us were like, well, who's connecting with the prison down the street and who's doing all these things?
Sure.
And didn't do any research. I was just asking the question and kind of poking holes, but not really providing solution.
Sure.
And it wasn't until that moment where I'm on stage looking out in the crowd and seeing people who are like, yeah, we've been doing this for years.
Where you been, bro?
Where you been, right?
What's up, young one?
I was like, oh, yeah. Let me slow my roll. Let me be more engaged. Let me connect more and show that like, while there's a role that I am playing, there's roles that I've already been playing. How do I enter into the conversation? I'm not starting it. I'm entering into it, and how do I enter into it humbly, and then being able to, again, connect with the people who are already there, but then say, if there are opportunities of inserting my gifts and skill sets, how do I do it with already existing and help elevate what's already there?
Yeah.
And then again, I'm not there for a transaction like, oh, now how you see me, even though I'll be nice.
Sure.
That's not the point. The point is the solution to be solved. The point is for the gap to be closed and for other people to receive that. And your gifts are being leveraged and utilized in that kind of space. Last words, or at least what I really want or hope to show up in is that, I'm working this shirt, community solution. A buddy of mine started a clothing company. It's over and done with, but again in college. But this was one of the shirts that he created. And as I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I want to show up? This was one message that really stuck to me.
Sure.
And that encourages that conversation that it is a collective. It is, Willamette's motto, not unto yourself alone are you born. There is a dynamic that is happening all around us that we can enter into and engage with. And we can find solutions if we are able to come to the table with that humility, vulnerability, showing our gifts, showing our strengths, being able to help serve with one another. Mm-hmm. And we can figure out what the solution is together from that abundance perspective versus thinking that we are fighting for the scraps that are at the table, right?
Sure.
And through that, the community is, at least you can see that is as a global context or a local context. Mm-hmm. And if we're in where I'm leaning more towards, again, what am I doing locally that is helping elevate the conversation or elevate the people that are already here? And I found so much joy doing that. Mm-hmm. There's so many people here who are doing this phenomenal work. That's why I'm still here. You're going to find problems everywhere. You're going to find issues all over the place. But what I hope is that we find people who are willing to say, you know what, while I am here, how do I make the most of this opportunity? And who can I connect with to keep that conversation going and keep the work going for myself and the next generation?
Awesome. I appreciate that. A great. I was thinking my Presbyterian college where I went to undergrad is while we live, we serve is their motto. Dum vivimus servimus, because it's in Latin.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Latin too. I don't.
Yeah. I took Latin for 4 years in high school.
In high
only
school.
to I was trying to do well in the SAT.
Oh yeah.
That's fine. So here's my last question for you. What media are you consuming? Like podcasts, books, music,
yes,
television, whatever. Like,
yeah.
What you got?
I'll go with 3. One, podcast wise, right now, well, yeah, podcasts all the time. Right now has been a lot of like entrepreneurial context, because there is a lot that could be learned in the business context that could be applied to the social context.
Sure.
And so, how do I understand how to create organizational systems that can help perpetuate this sustainability in our environment? So, right now I just came over here. I think I was finishing up listening to a podcast, a Social Proof podcast by David Shands and Donnie Wiggins. They're folks out of Atlanta, actually, who are talking about entrepreneurship. That's been a good one. I've really enjoyed that. And when you think about seeing myself, he actually dresses like this.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. So
Right.
How do I create that space as well? And it's been pretty dope. Book wise, actually in Alabama, I stepped off the plane and there was the current mayor, Randall Woodfin, wrote a memoir called The Son of Birmingham. And it talks about his story about growing up in the city and then eventually becoming the mayor of that city, and showing that Birmingham is more than just the civil rights stories that you hear. Like, it's continuing to progress and has a purpose.
Right.
And he also connects the Outkast songs into his writings. And I'm like, oh, this is dope.
Little AT-aliens.
Yeah.
Like super Cadillac. What's it? Oh, no, I messed it up.
There's Southern Playalistic Cadillac Funky Music.
Yeah, that's it.
That one, yes.
That's the one.
The Super Fragilistic. That's like Mary Poppins, right?
That's all. Mary Poppins. It's a whole different thing. But AT-aliens, I used to be able to rap that whole.
No way.
Most of that album. Yeah.
Oh man.
Back in the day, dude.
Oh, back in the day, man. Music wasn't what it used to be. These kids these days. Anyway. Then
like some old school hip hop. I don't even mumble rappers. Get out of here.
Yeah, man. What are you saying? Nothing.
Hey, what are you saying? Anyway, sorry.
So podcast, book. That's one book that I'm diving into, and many others in that space about how to combine Jesus, community, and leadership. So like any of those spaces is the kind of material that I'm reading. And then movies wise, or visually, I guess, we're currently watching White Lotus. So
bro, we just
started.
Oh,
so before
when you say you are are you like season 1?
Season one.
So
we literally last night was episode 1. So we'll come back and we'll talk more about it.
I have to have a Ray White take 2 White Lotus edition.
But I would love and that's actually something that I talked to a leadership coach about before, because she really was like, hey, you got these quirks, you got these things that you really like and enjoy. Mm-hmm. Why not share that on your platforms and show the connection and humanness of it, right? Sure. So I would love to look at media and leadership, or whatever, right, and kind of talk about that, because there are a lot of themes and messages in these things that we are digesting that plays a role in how we act and live and whatnot. So anyway, we just finished Running Point. Running Point was hilarious on Netflix. Now we're watching White Lotus.
Oh, is that the one with Kate? What's her name? Is that the one about the LA?
Yes. Yeah. I was like, oh, this is dope. So
I watched that too. That was good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm consuming. There's all the few far in between. It kind of depends on who I'm with, but those are kind of the top things that I'm processing at the moment.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Ray, thanks a lot. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Look forward to catching you outside.
Yeah.
In a good way, not that
I'll catch you outside. How about that? Yeah, man. So
I forgot about that. Sorry to drop that that meme in there.
These kids don't know what that is either.
They don't. What was that, like a whole 5 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe
longer than that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to think about it. The other day I said something. Oh, it was a Final Four, which I have a confession. I didn't watch 1 second of the men's NCAA basketball tournament
Okay.
because West Virginia got
Yeah. So
left out, and
You're
the
done.
corruption is so obvious it just makes me crazy. But anyway, it said Texas hadn't been in the Final Four since 2003. I was like, that's not that. Oh, that's 22 years ago.
Yeah. Don't look at the date.
Right? It's
Don't look
bad.
at the date.
It's bad. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And thanks for Ray White. Hook him up on Insta and follow him around on LinkedIn. He's a great dude. Good person to know. Ray, thanks a lot. And we'll see y'all next time.